Hi guys, just wanted to pop on while after finishing watching the Leinster Glasgow match and was just watching Bulls against the Sharks. Come on, Bulls! After what the Sharks did, I've even got family from Durban, but I was like, no, not a chance. Anyone say that Jaden Hendricks a fuck up? Oh, Munster fans, eat your heart out. But what I wanted to talk about in this video is rugby team. If you see me looking around, there's just watching the games in the background. Um, but yeah, I'll try and focus. So I want to talk about rugby, and I kind of go on a little bit with different topics, so I know it's a bit disjointed sometimes. But I'm going to combine my two favourite things, and that is obviously mental health. We talk about that a lot, and then also rugby and sport in general. Which I do have an interest in. I know I talk about indifference and boredom and not actually enjoying yourself and not having fun, but look, rugby, to be fair, has given me a lot more than I ever would have thought possible. And that's not being, well, it is being a little cringy, isn't it? But it's also true. Like, without rugby, I wouldn't have achieved a lot of things that I have. And that's being completely honest. So I want to just give it all the credit it deserves. Like, I tried lots of different sports as a kid, but rugby was the one that I stuck with and gave me a sense of confidence, gave me a sense of purpose, and genuinely it did. So to say something like, "Oh, the reasons why I hate it and all that," I don't think that's fair. I know it's just a sport, like it's not a person, but it's been a huge part of my identity for so long that I feel like it's not fair to go and shit all over it and to say, "Oh, it's terrible," I hate it and I wish I'd never done it. No, no, not at all. It's given me a lot more than I think it's taken. It's given me, as I say, sometimes, yeah, a reason to live. It's kept me out of trouble. If I didn't have rugby, I think I would have gotten into a lot more trouble. Because when you're young, you're frustrated and you get into a lot of shit. Oftentimes, you think you're Billy Big Bollocks, you think you're top dog, and you're not. And rugby is a tough team sport where you have the same amount of players on each team. And because of that, you realise, look, there are lads here that could wipe the floor with me. And you kind of get humbled a little. And I think that's important. I think getting humbled is good for you in life to realise, look, you're not as tough as you think you are. There's a lot of lads that go around thinking that they're tough, they're the bee's knees, they're hot shit. And if you're going around with a group of your mates, and I've said it before, 80 of your mates against two guys, you're not a tough guy, you're a coward. And I think that's what sport really gives you. Like, rugby teaches you to go out onto the field, and if you show up in the big occasion, I think you can call yourself a top dog, you can call yourself tough. And I've played with a lot of really good lads from all different kinds of backgrounds, which I think is another great reason, for any team sport. But with rugby in particular, I think there's a sense of camaraderie you don't get with other sports. And I loved having a beer after the game, but that's actually a reason I love it, and that's also a reason why I think I needed to take a break. But no, it's given me an awful lot. It really has. Like when I stepped up for my graduation, and I'm a brainsy guy, like I am. I don't feel like I was ever allowed to fully flourish. I feel like everything worked against me academically because I was a big fella. So everybody's like, "Oh, why are you anxious? Why are you nervous? You're a big fella. You should be wiping the floor with everybody." And people basically creating an identity for you without you actually being able to do it yourself. People put me into the bracket of big, thick rugby player. A lad who was good at rugby or lifting heavy shit, but wasn't much of a brainiac and was quite thick. Big, thick Dan. It was like some of my mates used to nickname me. They always knew I'd give 100% on the field though, and that's the one thing that I always had was rugby was my thing. Everybody had their thing, and my thing was rugby. It was lifting heavy shit. Um, you know, but I want to talk about the reasons why I left, why I stopped playing at 26. I've been on and off with it for quite a while, you know. And I just sorry, one sec, the dog's barking. Alfie was just going mental. My mum's doing the ropes in the gym. She's doing quite well in fairness to her. She's losing a good bit of weight, so I'm impressed with her, especially with all the pain she's in. Going swimming with us, doing her gym work. Not fair play to her. Getting back into it myself on Monday, but gonna do a weight loss. Feel like it's time, you know. But yeah, I want to just get back to the point at hand, and that is rugby has given me an awful lot, as you say, academic wise, got me into the gym, you know, so it gave me a huge amount. It was a reason for making friends. It was like I managed to make friends because, we had a common ground. We were playing the game together. We had a shared goal, which was to win the game. But at the age of 26, now playing it on and off, why did I stop? What was the reason? Because I feel like if anyone's thinking of playing it, or do you have the same issues, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Please let me know. But for me, what it was, was number one, we'll start off. There's a lot of time commitment, right? If you want to get somewhere with it, you have to commit a lot of time. And I feel like we hear all the glory stories about it, about how much someone dedicated and how it paid off in the end. But a lot of times it doesn't. And I feel like we don't hear those stories half as much as we hear the success stories. Do we? Like, we really don't. I'm just going to pause that because I can't concentrate. I'll be looking at the telly. But we hear all the success stories. But what about the guys who put in all the work and don't get anywhere? Um, like, I remember when I was only 15, 16, and I literally got a bus from my school all the way to training, and it took me over an hour each way, to get to and from, um, do a gym session, then come all the way home, try and sleep. I was supposed to be studying, but was I doing that? Was I fuck? There was probably about 4 or 5 other lads at the circuit training. I saw every opportunity, like every class, every little extra session, as an opportunity to get some extra. How would I even put this? A leg up on the competition, if you like, because I wanted to get to Leinster. I wanted to get somewhere in rugby, and I wanted to achieve something in it. I genuinely, I thought that's what I was destined to do. And I often questioned, did I have the dedication? Did I have the work ethic? And he used to always say, no, you don't. That's why you didn't get anywhere. And no, I did. And like looking back on it, based on how much shit I had going on, like I had a part-time job in school. I've worked since I was 14, which I love to keep bringing up. I know, but I have. I trained every second I got. That's battling with mental health issues. That's battling with a shitty family situation. That never seemed to calm down. Life was hectic all the time. That's battling with an autistic diagnosis, clinical depression, you name it. No matter how shit I felt, I always dragged my arse to train, and I always got out for my evening run. I put in so much effort, If I was told I needed to lose weight, like a coach literally called me fat, and I thought, you know what, he's right. But in my mind, that meant I had to go and absolutely flog myself. I always thought of myself as fat, even if I wasn't. So someone telling me I was fat meant, oh shit, I'm still not thin enough. And I thought I need to lose weight, I need to get fitter, and I did. To my detriment, I got underweight, like badly underweight, as I've shown before. So like that's another point. I was obsessed, and that's often seen as a good thing. People used to praise me for that, but it didn't get any easier. In fact, it got harder. People expected more from me, and I was straight out of college, straight out of Compton. Oh, cringy. I'm a cringy bastard. But I'd get out of college after a long day, like we were in from 9 till 4, basically like a full day's work, and it was a tough course. DNA forensic analysis. Fuck off. Oh, completing that was such a relief, but it was a full on course, and I don't think anyone appreciated that how full on it was. Like we were in 40 hours a week. That's basically full time employment. Science courses in Ireland and engineer. God help the engineers, they were even worse. Don't know how they did it because they had 45, 50 hour weeks. But I thought, you want to get somewhere, Dan, you've got to put in the extra work. This isn't going to be easy. This doesn't come easy. Um, you need to be doing the extra hard yards that nobody else is doing. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I get that you do, but some lads have it much easier. Some lads have it set in stone, whereas I don't think it was ever on the cards. I used to do manual labouring and then go straight to training after. My back was broken. I was in bits. I've got metabolism problems because of my autism, and I've got other issues as well. Depression doesn't help with that. But I was trying. I'd get straight out of college, I'd trek all the way up to training, I'd get in. Training didn't start till 7:30, but I was in the gym before 6 o'clock to do extra gym work, then go off to training. And I wouldn't be getting home. So just think about it like this: I go straight from college to training, and I do 4 hours up of training in total. Not only did I have the best fitness, so we used to do a 1K, so 1 kilometer. It was basically um, up full lap of the pitch, or sorry, lengthways of the pitch. So from one goalpost to the other, you do that 10 times. So you're up, then you're back, right? One, two. So if you want to say you were up and back 5 times, but you were basically doing 10 full runs from goalpost to goalpost on the rugby pitch, which is a kilometre because 100 metre pitches. You know what I mean? So that's how it works out roughly. But I got 3 minutes and 45 seconds. That was the best for forwards. It was the best time, and I was a second row. I'm bulking up at this stage. I had a 240 kilo deadlift at that time, so like I was strong. I had 115 kilo bench press, which for me with my skinny little T-Rex arms, I've got long, quite poor limbs if you think of deadlifting. And well, sorry, no, for deadlifting they're good, but for bench press, not great. And I've also got really long femurs, so for getting a really deep squat, not ideal either. But I worked with it. I had 220 kilo squat at the time, and my legs were definitely stronger than my arms. I was never naturally gifted at chin ups, but I was able to do 22 at this stage. I could do 8 wide grip pull ups, which I was shy at as well, but I trained my arse off to get good at them. That's the point I'm making, was I wasn't naturally gifted at many exercises. There were lads that were, just athletes, and you could see them, they were built like brick shit houses. Me, I have a bit of a pot belly, I have very long limbs, not the most aesthetically pleasing, I will say. But I trained my fucking arse off. And that was that was after school while I was in college. And lads didn't appreciate it. They only noticed when you weren't there. And that's what really fucking annoyed me. Which is another reason. You put in a lot of time and effort. That's all well and good if you're getting somewhere. Like I was asked to come for a Leinster trial, and rather than helping me out, my school coach blocked it. He said, "No, you're not going." And I was like, fuck you. You could have helped me out there. Because you don't like me personally and I'm a bit of a messer in school, you're not going to help me. Like, what a dickhead to do that. That could have been my chance. Maybe it wouldn't have been, but it was an opportunity when I was 15, when I was playing my best. And that's when I stopped showing up for training in school. Because I didn't like the coach. I'd been at every training, it was all I fucking did. That's when I started drinking, that's when I started smoking. Like, I wasn't going through a box a day, I was going off with friends, and if they had any rollies or whatever, I'd have a few, but I certainly went from being a good boy, doing his training and doing everything right, always just doing something in the gym, to, acting out a bit more, getting into trouble, not showing up for your training. With my club now, I was always a trainer. Never like that was kind of my escape, and that was with being put on antidepressants that absolutely fucked with my motivation. God, you know. So that's what I would say. You put in a lot of effort for very little reward, you know. And it's easy to be motivated if you're getting somewhere, and if you're not, not so easy because you put in a lot of effort. Um, and you might not have time. Like a lecturer told me, you're failing your classes. What do you want to do? Do you want to succeed in this course? Because you're going about it the wrong way. And we had a serious sit down and a talk. And he was like, "When are you studying?" And I was like, "I'm not really." And he was like, "You have to study. You're not going to pass this course unless you do." And I was like, "Yeah, he's right. I got to knuckle down." So that's what I did. And a lot of lads stop playing after school. Why? Because it becomes unfeasible. Like obviously I had all the college hours, I had school before that, I had work. It was also like my mental health was suffering badly, so that really had an impact on it as well. But somehow I kept showing up, and I kept showing up after school, but very little reward from it. And I had lads bombarding me, telling me, "Oh, why are you not showing up? You need to be showing up." And I was like, "I've shown up to everything so far. I've shown up to pre-season in better shape than everybody there because me and my brother were training in the gym when most lads were off on holiday, getting pissed and getting beer bellies. We were actually working our arses off in the gym to get good, so we were well ahead of everybody else. We showed up to pre-season in good shape. You know that didn't seem to count for much. I'm just going off personal experience. There's lads who have more bravado, more of a personality about them, whereas we were just yes sir, no sir, three bags full sir. Did exactly what the coaches wanted, and it seemed to work against us. I was literally like digging up the teacher, ironically, that blocked my Leinster trial. It wouldn't let me go for it. I ended up actually changing my opinion of him for a few for a few moments until he tried to fucking rip me off and not pay me what he owed me. Me and a friend did up his back garden. Sounds like a euphemism, doesn't it? But no, we're basically just digging up old foundations and putting down new concrete for him. And, it was good work. We got paid well for it in the end after we argued and we're like, look, we're owed more than what you're giving us. But, it was wheelbarrowing stuff around. It was digging holes. It was manual labour. And then I was trying to make training after that. And I made a fucking effort. But I said I was at work and I couldn't make, I think it was one session. And the coach who I liked at the time was like, "Oh, Dan Burns here, guys, give him a clap." Like real ironically, like calling me out as if I'm always missing training. I was like, lads are always missing trainings, because they're at work. The one time I fucking say it, I'm jeered and laughed at, like I don't appreciate that shit. A lot of people expect you to give up a lot of time for nothing. Like it's not a very good opportunity, and sometimes they expect you to give up a whole day's work and a day's pay for what, standing around holding tackle bags. I get you have to put in the hard work and everything, but you also want to know that there's going to be something worth your while at the end, and very rarely was there. Um, so yeah, there's that. You know, it's also very taxing on the body. So I think that'll come as no surprise to anybody. But it's also taxing on the body when you're a young fella and you're told to play with lads that are much older than you. It's not safe either. I probably sound like a worried mother. It's not safe. I'm talking from experience. I'm talking as a lad who was 13 playing against 17, 18 year olds because nobody ever bothered to ask my age. And there's a lot of stupid men in rugby, I will say, and in sport in general. Women's sport seems to be definitely more together. There's definitely more encouragement from what I've seen, which I think is a good thing, and I think men could learn from that. There's not as much trying to put everybody off their game, you know. It seems to be when I watch women's sport that we fought hard enough to get this shit, so let's just play our game, and maybe it's just virtue signaling, as I keep talking about that word, but a lot of people do it nowadays. So maybe it's just saying, oh, it's wonderful that women are playing, but maybe there's bitching that goes on in the background. I'm sure there is, but it's certainly something I hate about sport, men's sport, where you're trying to put other people off their game rather than just playing your own fucking game. I hated that shit, and I was never good at it. I started doing it, and I didn't like the fact that I was doing it because that's not me. I was always more, you play your game, and I'll play mine. Um, but yeah, that's another side now. You know, but stupid man. So yeah, they had me before playing a game where I was only 13 and I was playing against 17-year-olds. Some of them were 18. I was always put into older teams because they had no team for me at that stage, that age group. And my mum and dad didn't really have a clue what team I was playing for. They were always like, just take down to training and play for whatever team you're playing with. And I didn't really know, and I didn't really have the confidence to speak up and go, oh, okay, yeah. But I shouldn't have been playing with lads that old. It started off where there was no team for my age group, so I was playing as a 12-year-old. I was playing for the under 15s. I just thought, fuck it, get on with it. That's what I'd always been kind of brought up to do. Just get on with it, which I did. And I was playing against lads who were, developing. They were teenagers, and I was only 12 at this point, so 14, 15-year-olds. And then it was like, ah, yeah, well, you're doing well there, so we need you to play a game. We're short numbers. Can you play for us? For the under 18s. And I never had the confidence to say I'm only 13. I was like, oh yeah, yeah, sure, I'll sub. Not only was I playing against lads who were 4 or 5 years older than me, I was playing in a position I never played before. I had to play centre. Um, Great when you're attacking. I love playing it now because it's just crash ball direct. But at the time, I'd never played it before. I'd always been the forward, so I had no idea what I was doing. And I'd lads screaming at me like, "What are you doing? Where are you going? Like, oh, you fucking idiot! What? You're in the wrong position." And I just said, "I've never played here before. Can you help me out?" So there's a lot of sink or swim moments, and I was shitting myself. I'd just go into tackles and just put the head down and like that, dive into them and hope I didn't get seriously injured. A lot of times I'd come off the pitch in bits, and when you're young, it's all right, yeah. And I'm still relatively young, but the fact that I've played against older lads for so long, it takes a toll on you, and I think you need to gradually go into it. But a lot of coaches will just throw you in. So, like, straight out of school, I was 18, and I was told that my mates' club, they needed under 20s lads. That's why I left my previous club and I went to play for his one, because I was like, oh yeah, under 20s grand. I'm 18. That's the natural progression. And I played a few under 18s games for another mate's team. He just asked me, we're short players, can you come and help us out? And I was like, yeah, yeah, go on. Even though I didn't want to, and that's the thing. I often felt obliged to do it. Don't know if anyone's ever felt that way, but if you're not feeling it, I would encourage you to say no. If you want to do it, do it. And if you don't. Nobody is forcing you to do it. And I wish I'd said that to myself way more often, because I couldn't say no to people ever. And it didn't work for me, it worked against me big time. So learn to say no. Wish I had. But I went to play under 20s, and then I played for anyone but the under 20s. I was asked to play for the firsts team. I was asked to play for the seconds, and we're talking fully grown men here, so these are lads in their 30s and 40s. It's a learning curve. Like, a lot of the lads you see playing for Leinster and they come straight out of the private school system. They're into the under 20s for UCD, Trinity, or whatever, one of the AIL teams. It's a really neat pathway, but I doubt many of them have played against big, hairy countrymen who are able to break them up, you know? Like, it's a different thing altogether. When you're not playing AIL, and which is All Ireland League, so the top level before you get to Leinster, it's a very daunting thing. When you're an 18-year-old coming up against some muck savage from Mullingar or Tullamore, or Nace, fucking hell, Nace, yeah. Ugh. Kildare is just it's a great county for rugby. Big fucking scary men. But they break you up, and I could barely walk some weeks because I was in the gym all the time during the week. I was at rugby training. I don't fucking know how I did it, but I was constantly training while injured. My body was in bits. My neck used to get so stiff. It still does. And I got a lot of knocks to the head, and I don't know what impact have. I don't know what impact that has on you. You know, because sometimes I get very dizzy. Sometimes I lose focus. Sometimes I can't concentrate, and maybe that's getting knocked to the head. Like I got a lot of knocks to the head in the position I played in. Like I was second row or back row. Very physical positions. You know, you're constantly putting your body on the line. You jump in the line out. You also lift in the line out. You have to get stronger. But you also have to carry as well. You know, I had a lot of daunting situations. You know, people try and rough you up when you're the young fella as well, especially if you play in the forwards. They're gonna try and get one over on you. And before I rose to the occasion when some big, I think he was Georgian or something, some big fucker, 6'9" and a hefty lad, but he was throwing his weight around, and you know we were going at each other the whole game, and he hit me with a haymaker, and then I just start laying into him like throwing punches, and I was delighted with myself, you know, because I felt like I rose to the occasion, and I had a big shiner on my face there, but everybody was going, "Well done, Dan, yeah, good man." 18 and you're being chucked in the deep end, you know, I'd say I rose to the occasion. But you know, lads would be slagging you off afterwards that, oh, you've a big shiner and all this, and you know, telling you got battered when really you didn't because you stood up and you started throwing punches back. Yeah, like it takes a toll on you, you know, like I damaged this shoulder here, the left one. I damaged a nerve and I had a pinched nerve for a while. And this was as all my gym stats were getting good. And it's actually why I stopped playing rugby for a while. It was during a rugby league match. So I had a bit of a breakdown playing club rugby, and it was the longest break I've ever taken at that time. You know, I just stopped going training and I started just going to the gym. Me and my brother took up rugby league because I was failing college and everybody just kept demanding more and more out of me. I never missed a game, and they didn't seem to appreciate how much effort I was putting in. They just always assumed I'd show up for every game, and my head was not in a good place either. I was struggling to make it in for college. I was exhausted all the fucking time. Yeah, so it was tough. But then I played rugby league, bulked up a bit, you know, like my gym stats were getting really good. 115 kilo bench press, that was going up to 120. And then bam, big tackle, damage down the left shoulder, and I couldn't lift it at all. I couldn't lift my left arm. And we went back for rugby union pre-season, and we were doing bear crawls, and my arm was fucking killing me. It was excruciating. The pain shot all the way down my arm. Um, and I'd taken a breather from the gym because it was already tough as it was, but I was putting in tackle after tackle trying to keep up, and it was painful. I just couldn't push through. The pain was excruciating. And then one game we were playing, I'll never forget it as long as I live. It was the so I was nearly 20 stone, right? I was 127.5 kilos, just bordering on 20 stone, to be exact. But I still had fitness, you know. Match fitness is something you really only get with playing matches, as the old cliche goes. And I remember we played the game. Before the game, the warm up, we were doing burpees, we were doing push ups, you know, all this circuit training, and we were dealing with old fellas as well on our team, and they were just joking, going, "Wait, we have to play a match now as well." We this rugby sevens Kiwi lad, and he was demanding a lot more than what we could give. We were like, "Slow down, we are all fucked," and we haven't even started the game yet. And somehow we still lasted like 70 plus minutes. But we'd won scrum after scrum, and the backs just kept knocking it on, and they kept giving all this motivational talk, like, "Come on, lads, we need to push on, we need to work harder," and like telling me to get up off the ground and get up off your arse and work harder. I was like, "Fuck off! I'm hitting ruck after ruck and putting in every bit of effort I can. You lot need to learn how to catch a ball." You know, Forwards, we all do the hard yards, and everybody, the backs always fuck it up. They don't appreciate what we go through. Am I right? It was annoying. I was just like, I'm putting in as much effort as I can give. I'm not arsed. This is a waste of fucking time. And my mum and my brother came to watch me, and I was like, let's just go home. And my mum joked only today with me, saying, um, you used to always stay around and watch the game. I've never seen you leave early, but I left early that day because I didn't care. And that's when I knew, fuck this, I'm not wasting any more of my time and energy on this shit. Um, yeah, and I decided I'm taking a breather from it, and then I went over to play a little bit for my college team, IT Tala. Played a few games for them, played a little bit for Tala Rugby, then worked in the square. We were moving house, so we had to clean the house top to bottom every week, and everything was just weighing on me too much. And then I took up Olympic weightlifting, because I got to a grand final in Ireland with the Rugby League, and that was like a good achievement in itself. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it. 2019 All Ireland Rugby League grand final. Dan Byrne, number 10 for the Dublin City Exiles. That's me. But it's good to say that you played in that, even if it is only Mickey Mouse compared to Australia or England. But to, to know what terrible shape I was in, the fact that I still made it, I'm like, yeah, look, I did it. I put in as much effort as I could, which I'm happy to say. Um, Hull KR won the Betfred Challenge Cup today in the last few minutes. It was really exciting stuff, much more exciting than the Rugby Union, I might say. Um, so what else was I going to add? Yes. So another thing with rugby as well, and this is my favourite part, so it's kind of like, I do miss this a lot, but it was the drinking. Massive drinking culture. Just stodge, just like people are always eating lots of carbs, putting a lot of shite into their body. Like I remember lads used to carb up on like jambons, like pastries and sausage rolls and all this shite before a game. I could never eat that much before a game. I always felt sick with the nerves. So I'd only have like an orange, a banana. My uncle always said tomatoes, by the way. Tomatoes are the best. Cherry tomatoes. I don't know what it is, but they do work for sure. So that's a good tip for you. But lads would be smoking like 8 cigarettes before a game. And I was like, look, I'll have a bit of fun after the match, but I'm not doing anything unhealthy before it. And I just remember thinking, I feel sick, and I got sick on the pitch a few times, and that kind of embarrassed me. So I was like, nah, fuck this, because my diet just wasn't good. It wasn't what it needed to be, and I wasn't as fit as I had been, and it was because of all the drinking. Like lads would be putting all these protein powders, creatine, pre-workouts into their bodies, and I just felt sick. How are you putting all this shit into your body? Maybe it's because of my autistic guts. As I was talking about, they found the polyp in my gallbladder. Polyp. It's benign, thankfully, but yeah, digestive problems are a thing with autism, and I just found I couldn't keep putting all this shit into my body. Lads would do it all the time, protein powder, but then they'd be binge drinking at the weekend, and I thought, my stomach is churning here. I can't keep putting all this shit into my body. I need a detox. It's destroying my guts. All these energy drinks, all this fucking pre-workout, all the protein powder, creatine, like my organs are going to be in bits. And then the drinking as well, no. And then like people were taking performance enhancing drugs sometimes. Now, I mean, probably not many because it's only amateur. Well, I'd say there's a few more than we'd like to believe in Irish rugby that are taking stuff. We just don't call it out as much as we should, but look, considered it many times myself when I wanted to get somewhere. So yeah, like I do often miss it, yeah, and I think of the camaraderie and everything, and I have played this season, so It was good, but I remember the nerves. I don't miss the nerves whatsoever before a game. I don't miss um the pain. I showed you like after that game I played out with Nate. Jesus, the pain. My legs were all scraped. I was covered in bruises. I was crippled. I couldn't sit down properly. I heard Benjamin Kaiser. I call him Michael Bublé. He looks like Michael Bublé, the hooker that used to play for Clermont de Verne and France. Benjamin Kaiser. He was saying you can't even stretch. I was like, yeah, exactly. You can't stretch because you're in so much fucking pain. And even if you go for a swim, it just numbs the pain for a little bit. Oh, it's nasty. And he was saying that like he was a professional, obviously, but I think that makes even more sense. Why would you do it to yourself if you're not getting paid to do it? Because, or at least have a chance. Some lads enjoy it, and look, I enjoyed it, but I also like training in the gym. Like I used to be getting up before college, and I made it into college early after a gym session. I'd have a gym session in the morning. I really enjoyed it. I felt really good, and then I would get the bus after having a shower in the gym, and I'd go straight to college. I'd always be early, whereas I was struggling to make it in for 9 o'clock. Haven't got well, I say a proper night's sleep, but probably not. And lads in the rugby team, and also I listened to too much advice. There were too many people who didn't know what they were talking about trying to give me advice. And they were saying, oh, you actually burn muscle if you work out in the morning. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, okay, I'll stop doing that. I fucked up my routine. I started only doing gym sessions in the rugby club um, after college, and before training would start. So what happened was I ended up fucking up a really good routine. Because I was doing this when I wasn't doing rugby training because I felt good, I didn't feel crippled all the time. Always going around feeling crippled, and if you're drinking alcohol, you're going to fuck up your recovery because your body prioritizes getting rid of the alcohol, not recovering your muscles. And I think I took a bit longer anyway because of my slow metabolism. Um, and I love drinking. I love drinking in a rugby club. That's actually probably my favourite place to do it. It was like you've played your game, you've done your bit. Let's all go have a few beers and get shit faced. Oh, sign me up. I loved it, and it numbed the pain for the day as well. Um, yeah, like it's not all it's cracked up to be. Is all I'm getting at. I did love it, and it gave me a lot. Like it was my thing. It wasn't just a number. I was looking back at videos of my school graduation and my year, and there were a few dickheads, who ruled the roost, and they were the popular kids. We didn't really have popular kids. We had gobshites and other kinds of gobshites, but we cliques, and if you didn't fit in with that clique, you basically weren't getting a mention in the yearbook and all that shit. And looking back at it, I wanted to be known. I wanted to say, yeah, I went to that school and I got out. I did my bit and I got out, but I got an award at my graduation. I was like, for rugby player, and I was so proud of myself for doing that. I was like, fuck you all, and I even heard some lads saying I didn't deserve it. I was kind of like, fuck you, I got it, you didn't. So it was a real sense of identity for me, and to have to take a step back from that, it's been hard, but I've got things that I need to focus on, and I think I would like to get back to it in the future, definitely, because I did enjoy it, and I met a good group of lads here in Wexford. And, no, in the future for sure, but on my terms, you know. And not with the aim of getting anywhere. Go out, enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, don't play it. That'd kind of be how I'd see it now, and I think a lot more of us need to go and just enjoy playing. It's not all about getting somewhere, and I wish I'd said that to myself sooner. Yeah, be ambitious, but you don't have to make it for Leinster or Munster, whoever. Enjoy it first. I wasn't enjoying it for a long, long time, and I kept playing because it was habitual. It was all I knew. Rugby training, that's just something I did. So now that I'm not doing it all the time, I feel like I'm at a bit of a loss. I feel like there's a loss there that I need to kind of grieve, which feels weird, and Feels a bit stupid, but yeah, it's kind of it's what I did. It's all I know. So it's definitely weird not having it. And I look at people playing, and I was like, oh yeah, be good to get back to it, but not right now. I've got shit that I need to focus on. Um, and you shouldn't just be doing it for the Instagram. That's what I was doing it for. So I had pictures for the Instagram every weekend, and nah, that's a waste of time. If that's all you're doing it for, you may as well not bother your arse. And like I do remember when I was going for a trial with the Rugby League Ireland clubs, which isn't massive, but it's a chance to represent your country. And I thought I've blown a massive opportunity here. But if I'm being real with myself, I was on 150 milligrams of sertraline, which is Zoloft. I was massively overweight. I think even showing up was pushing through because I really didn't want to go. I was so out of shape. I felt miserable. We were doing a Bronco test. I nearly came last, and I used to be the best in the team for fitness. So that was embarrassing for me, and that was a real knock to my confidence. I used to be leading the way in fitness tests. Now I could barely finish them. I was puking as I did it. I felt fucking shit about myself. Then I was like, I fucking pushed through. And then I went the next week, having felt terrible, having felt like giving up. And I didn't give up. I showed up the next week. And I was struggling with the fitness anyway, but I was pushing through. Then I went over my ankle, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And I couldn't shake the injury. When you get overweight, when you get out of shape, you can't shake injuries like what you used to. And I remember just thinking, I'm fucking done. I shouldn't have even bothered coming here. I would have saved myself the embarrassment. Nobody actually shamed me. Nobody said anything negative to me, but I just felt it myself. I felt like, oh my god, how far, how far the apple has fallen. My fall from grace was not pretty. I thought, this is your opportunity now, and you've blown it. This is what you've been asking for, and you've fucking blown it. Well done, Dan. And I was like, no, actually, I haven't, because all I was doing was pushing through. My willpower is what got me to that stage, and I'd used every single bit of it. It just, I just couldn't push anymore. You know, that was the God's honest truth. What I should have been doing was taking the time to recover. I shouldn't have been pushing. Now that I am taking the time to recover, I'm dealing with shit that I realised I pushed deep, deep down, and we've all got to do it, you know? And it does hopefully get easier. So yeah, I just wanted to come on and talk about that, guys, and let me know if you've got any similar struggles yourself. I'd love to hear them. Just something I wanted to talk about. So see you in the next one.